Hello and welcome back. I hope your weekend is going great, and I'm here with an update. As we all know, Prince Harry, the Duke of Sussex, hosted a live stream event taking part in an intimate conversation with the Dr. Gabor Mate. And during the talk, Prince Harry opened up about a lot of topics. It was such a wide-ranging talk. So I'm going to share a couple of highlights here. So thank you for tuning in. And if you're here for the first time, welcome. So this is the first highlight. First of all, Prince Harry said that he is not a victim. So Dr. Gabor started the talk by speaking about the two divergent streams of responses from those who had and those who hadn't read Spare. And he said that those who hadn't read the book were, quote, resentful towards the Duke of Sussex, and those who had were grateful to him for sharing his story. So this is where Prince Harry goes on to talk about not being a victim. Harry said that he was not looking for sympathy, and he responded also saying, quote, I definitely don't see myself as a victim. And he also said that sharing his experiences and his story would help people out there. He also says that it feels like an act of service sharing his story through his book. He talked about his experiences of therapy and shared his reluctance at finding a therapist as he feared losing his feelings over the loss of his mother, Princess Diana. And he also opened up about how he believed initially that he needed to feel sad in order to remain close to her before realizing that she would have wanted him to move on. He also said that he was in a, quote, a state of shock from a young age. And he said that he was in a kind of fight or flight state. And he talked about working with a therapist to, quote, unpack the 12-year-old Harry. And of course, Dr. Mate also told him that at certain points, he reverted to a much younger age when he got hurt or when he got upset. So he spoke about the trauma that surrounded him losing his mom. And he also opened up about being diagnosed with PTSD. And as I said before, he worked with a therapist. So as I said before, he was scared of losing the feelings that he had of his mom. And speaking of clinging to those feelings, he said something quite profound. He said this, quote, I thought that when I went to therapy that it would cure me and that I would lose whatever I had left of my mother. It was the opposite. I turned what I thought should be sadness to show that I missed her into knowing that she would want me to be happy. So all in all, he did learn how to move on and, to seek happiness because he believes that that's what his mother would have wanted for him. So he also talked about how Prince Harry felt sort of, abandoned after how Charles told him about Princess Diana's death and how he was not held. So they also talked about the importance of touch, bringing up the topics in the book that he was not able to hug Queen Elizabeth II and also no hugs after coming back from Afghanistan. And Mate said that that was a multi-generational pattern. So for those of you who need a quick recap of that, it was recounting the section from the Duke of Sussex's memoir where he described Prince Charles breaking the news of Diana's passing to him without hugging him. He just touched his knee. It was quite interesting that Prince Harry did not have that physical contact with his family. It's quite interesting. He returned all the way from Afghanistan and no hugs. So Prince Harry spoke about that and said, quote, it leaves me in the position of a father having two children trying to smother them with love. I feel a huge responsibility not to pass on any trauma or negative experiences that I've had as a kid or as a man growing up. And he went on to say, quote, there are times when I catch myself when I should be smothering them with that love, but I might not be. So yes, he talks about the importance of, as I said before, touch and how I think for him, giving his children love and affection is a way for just breaking that kind of pattern that was there with his family. As Dr. Mate said, it's imperative not to pass on traumas to someone's children. So yes, Prince Harry agrees. He is grateful to be able to change his environment. And that, of course, for me will have a great segue here. As I said before, these will be highlights. It will not be a point-by-point talk. So he talks about what he does as parents. The first thing, which is skin to skin. And of the deprivation of that touch, he said, we only know what we know. So as I said, he talked about breaking the cycle. And this is where I'll just segue here into what he also spoke about raising his own children, and that he said it was important to allow them to have, quote, outbursts and to be in touch with their emotions. And he said this, quote, let them be themselves. There have to be rules, but one thing my wife and I talk about is if they have a moment of frustration, to allow them to have that and then talk about it afterwards. And another standout was Prince Harry admitting that he always felt, quote, different from all the other members of the royal family. And he also believed that this is how his mother, Princess Diana, felt. And he explained that when he tried to broaden his horizons, he always got the message that he should return to the fold and do what they had outlined for him. So he talked about breaking free, and he explained that it felt great. And he also opened up about how he gave people the impression that he was happy when it wasn't really the case. So isn't that interesting how people used to always say that he was, Prince Harry, the Joker, always pointing to the fact that he was in a good mood, but yet he says within him he, struggled with depression and on and sadness. Quite commendable that he's able to open up about that. So continuing on to the point of Prince Harry talking about how he felt different from the rest of his family, this is a part of his talk that I really think was very insightful, where he talked about Meghan and her effect on him. And he said this, quote, my wife saved me. I was stuck in this world and she was from a different world and helped draw me out of that. And he also went on to say, quote, but none of the elements of my life now would have been possible without me seeing it for myself. And he went on to give this very sweet statement about Meghan. He said, quote, my partner is an exceptional human being and I'm eternally grateful for the wisdom and the space that she has given me. End quote. So that is so powerful. So this was that moment of him reflecting on losing his temper with Meghan and how he needed, quote, the pushback from her and her questions about his temper and how it might be a reflection on how he was brought up. He said that the questions that she had asked him was, quote, a light bulb moment. So he also talked about, racism as well in this talk. And he also went on to talk about how through meeting Meghan, he had had a, quote, crash course in racism. And he said this, quote, I think what people perhaps don't understand is the pain that it causes to an individual is huge, but then the pain that it causes to society is immense. To which Dr. Gabor said that it isn't just an emotional pain, but he also talked about it causing inflammation. So that is very insightful as well. So as I said before, he talked about how through Meghan, he really encountered racism. And he also spoke openly about the own missteps that he has had in his own life. And he said that racism not only affects one person, but is also a, quote, a blight on society. So he once again talked about unconscious bias and how he addressed that within himself as well and how he's learned from it. Once again, he is still on his journey, and it's good to see that he is open to where he had, as he said, had his own missteps. It's also quite noteworthy that as he talked about racism, he said that it was shocking and he was surprised to see what Meghan went through, saying that he was naive. But of course, now he has learned it, and I think it's quite good for him to keep calling it out. And this is also quite interesting, where I'll just segue into a question that he was asked about it being risky that he was being very open and vulnerable. And he spoke about the criticism that he has faced, talking about his book. Of course, as we all know, people trying to paint him as a whiner and, wanting sympathy or having a victim mentality or kind of claiming victimhood as a, quote, brand. And he spoke about how he felt he could help people through his book. And he said that he was surprised sometimes to the reactions of his book and sometimes he was not. And he said, quote, as we've already discussed, I'm not a victim in this. The more they criticize, the more I feel the need to share. He went on to say, quote, I found a way to be able to look around the criticisms and the abuse. What worries me is that there are other people out there who see the reaction that I get that then encourages them or discourages them. But he also added that he was grateful for the response to his book. Also, the way people have reviewed his book on Amazon, which by the way has been outstanding. People have really taken their time to write out their thoughts about this book. And I'm talking essays. He also spoke about essays. It's quite true. People have been quite thoughtful in their responses to his book through Amazon, through their reviews, and even, through articles and on and on. And he said he's quite honored by the fact that people take the time to unpack their own responses to his book. So it's interesting that, yet again, he says that he does not see himself as a victim, nor is he trying to make that his brand. And, the more, as he said, people criticize, the more he will feel the need to share. And, he does take a risk by being open and vulnerable, but he knows that it's powerful because it will benefit so many others. So yes, the talk went on a lot of talking about parenting, talking about traumas, talking about even a very interesting part where Dr. Gabor Mate diagnosed Prince Harry right there in the talk with ADD, and Harry thanked him for that free diagnosis, where he also answered people's Q&As about the royal residences. And, he's talked about the fact that, yes, he has had tough times growing up, but he also said there were times that were amazing. And he said growing up in, those palaces and in those royal houses was, quote, an adventure, and that he believed it to be normal, of course, when he was growing up. But he said, he did not discover certain books on a bookcase that would open up a secret passage. No, he did not discover that. As I said, he talked about a lot of things. He opened up as well about the war in Afghanistan. And when Dr. Gabor Mate said that he was not aligned with that conflict, Prince Harry responded, quote, "One of the reasons why so many people in the United Kingdom were not supportive of our troops was because they assumed that everybody that was serving was for the war." He went on to say, but no, once you sign up, you do what you're told to do. And he went on to say that there perhaps were a lot of the troops that did not necessarily agree or disagree with what they were tasked to do, but they do what they are trained to do, and that's how they're trained. And I think everyone who has served will second that. They don't get to opt out. They're given their marching orders and they go through with it. So huge takeaways for me, I think, are those that I've spoken about here. And now I want to know your thoughts in the comment section below. So thank you all for watching. I love you all. Thank you to my Patreon, PayPal, and membership supporters. I want to say a heartfelt thank you and a shout out to a couple of you who support this channel here. A special thank you to Cookies and Cream. Thank you for being a member on this channel. Thank you for joining in all the chats and the ways you engage on this channel. It truly does mean a lot. Thank you, Cookies and Cream, for your support. A special thank you to Dorothy Ross. Dorothy, I love you, and your support truly is a boost to this channel. You are so dear and special to me. Thank you. Thank you. God bless. Thank you to Helene Gruen. Helene, thank you. Thank you so much for choosing to support this channel here on YouTube. You are truly such a blessing. And also thank you for following on Twitter. I also follow you back. And a sincere thank you to Bonnie, who goes by the handle B10Pow here on YouTube. A very faithful supporter who gives and just goes above and beyond. I want to say thank you. Thank you for joining in the chats. Thank you for all your comments. I want to say you are truly so dear to me. Thank you. And a special thank you to Kathy Aye as well. Thank you, Kathy, for your love, your support, and your giving. It means so much. Thank you for being such a tremendous support for this channel. I truly do appreciate you. A special thank you now to those who gave during the last live. I want to say thank you to you, Mrs. S. God bless you for that. I feel so blessed to know you. Thank you so much for that support. Once again, leave your thoughts on this below, share your highlights with me in the comment section, and be sure to check out more videos. And if you liked this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, click that like and subscribe button. It truly, truly does help out the channel. Let YouTube know you enjoyed what you watched. Have a great day wherever you are. Leave your comments below and your highlights. I would love to read them, and I will catch you in the next one. Have a blessed one.